Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to How to Win at Chess, a series where I play my subscribers on Twitch in 10-minute rapid games, and I go up the rating ladder every single episode, walking you through all the different phases of the game. This is episode number 23. I don't remember when episode number 22 was recorded, maybe about a month ago. It's become kind of a monthly series, and today I am also going to show you how to then analyze the game using Chessly. So some of you may know, probably know, some of you may not know because, I don't know, you don't watch every single video, but I have moved my courses onto a better platform. We built a better courses platform that is called Chessly, and I will show you how to go through the game afterward and study it and so on and so forth. So without further ado, let us jump into today's games. We are going to have a big rating range today, from about 1100 to 1900. Obviously, always a chill episode, and I'm going to start with the black pieces. So today we will also have this eval bar, so it's going to be empty on the left side, and afterward we will analyze it. Okay, my opponent plays c4. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a modern. So my opponent plays in English. This is going to be my g6 modern, bishop g7, and I'm waiting to see if my opponent's going to move the d pawn. Okay, so far they have not. In the modern defense course, there is this way of playing against the fianchetto setup of bishop g2 by playing your typical modern. And the thing is, white is just going to usually pre-move these three moves. So I'm going to go bishop d7, queen c8, and here. Not right away, because if I play bishop d7, I lose this pawn. So I'm going to just develop my knight to the center. A lot of people here just move in like this in castle. My opponent might also play e3, knight e2. It's another very common English setup. I'm also not... Yeah, there it is. I'm just going to play bishop d7 for now. I actually prefer if my opponent castles, because if my opponent just plays knight e2 like this, and I go here, it's very obvious what I'm trying to do. So I want to play kind of a pass-back move. I want to make my opponent castle this way, and then I will be... yeah, I will be in good shape to trade off the light-squared bishop of white and try to go on an attack, right? Like, I don't want to start... you could start like this, but it's not a great option. Again, I might make a waiting move. I might also play e5, but the thing about playing moves like e5 is that your opponent goes, they're attacking the center, so now I'm going to go d4. And suddenly you don't really get your plan. But you should still try to make, obviously, the best flexible move in the long run. And I'm not rushing with knight f6 either, although I very much could play this move. So I guess I will. It's a very tough decision, to be honest. But let's see if my opponent does in fact play d4. We will see. My opponent might just castle because that's sort of the next move. But again, when you play in the middle, they may also play in the middle, and then I would prefer to keep the tension among the pawns. I don't think it's a good idea to take. At 1100, you may still evaluate things as fair trade, and that is in fact a fair trade, but I don't see any reason to remove one of our center pawns and also open up our opponent's dark-squared bishop. Okay, there we go. And now queen c8. So this is the indication of a very powerful attack that's coming. Now, there's a way here to actually prevent bishop h3. And it's the fact that my queen has to guard my bishop and simultaneously this pawn. It's a very tough move. Yeah, my opponent doesn't even fully realize it, but knight d5, hitting this pawn, preventing my queen from defending the bishop. So I'm still going to go here. I think my opponent's idea is to go bishop h1. This is a very standard thing so that there is no rook there, just instant replay. Had I gone bishop h3, avoiding the trade would have resulted in the loss of the rook. So this is common, but now you start chipping away with h5, and things can get very ugly here. Things get very, very ugly for white. So yeah, white plays d4, but I'm not going to take and try to open up my king. My king is in the center. I'm going to keep trying to bludgeon down that side of the board. So h5, h4 on the way. And I don't really care if you take here, because if anything, it just helps me get another piece potentially into the attack. I don't care if you go d5. In fact, closing the center would actually benefit me, because when you are trying to attack your opponent, you prefer a center closed, since it's going to be a lot harder to create counterplay. Open center is the way to go. So if this was like this, my opponent would have the active bishop, the active knight, the active rook. But by closing the center, I prevent my opponent from doing really anything they want. Now, I'm not winning here, maybe yet, but I have a very pleasant position. And yes, you might say, well, Levy, you have a 1,300 point, advantage. But it's not only that. Okay, I promise it's It's a bit more than that. It's just the fact that the prospects of the position are much more fun to play from Black's perspective. So that's a little bit. Yeah, so DE. So I could take with the pawn or I could take with the knight. They both look good. I could also throw in this move, which I probably will, to be honest. I think I'm going to take this first, just to open this up. This pawn's not going anywhere. If my opponent goes here, I mean, I'm just going to open up that king. Okay, FG. Interesting. Interesting. I think my opponent wants to play knight f4, and it's important in chess to prevent our opponent's moves, obviously. But the other question is there really such a problem? I could just go here. Yes, this is open, but I am evaluating that as not that dangerous. I'm also a move away from reinforcing my knight, and I'm also not concerned about this because, yes, I double my pawns, but in chess we have something called superseding concepts, or at least that's what I like to call it. And in the case of doubled pawns, I'm not really sure that that's as concerning as the opponent losing a chief defender of the king. So I think this is a good move, preventing knight f4. Always important in these positions in all positions, to scan what our opponents want. I think my opponent would have loved to move the knight to f4, and I am going to prevent that. Now, I have a few ideas. Moving my queen out and then moving my rook to the center. Moving my queen to the h-file and then delivering some sort of checkmate. Finishing my development and maybe just hiding my king somewhere. A lot of different ideas. I don't want to expand like this because I don't want to block my bishop and my queen battery. Okay, queen a4 makes sense. So it's attacking my c6 knight, actually. Now, I could just go back. That is actually very much an idea. I also could just defend. I like the prospect of just developing a piece that I haven't moved yet and very clearly defending against the threat. Now, when the queen ventures this far out, anytime a queen ventures really far out, it has a chance of not participating in the game again. So it's very clear my opponent is investing fully in this plan of attacking my queenside. Okay, b5 is certainly concerning. Yeah, now the question is, do I want to castle or do I want to just... I don't know. Do I want to just focus on this side of the board? I could just play a6. So a6, b5 I take, right? And then I'm attacking the queen. So a6 is definitely worth considering. Short castle, b5. I would have to move my knight. I don't think moving my knight is such a big deal, but I do feel like playing just one move, preventing the entire plan by white, is probably worth it. a6 just does seem logical. I think my opponent much prefers a pawn here than a queen. A queen on b5 doesn't actually attack anything. It's the way you have to evaluate things, right? So b5 was going to be a move that was going to create some problems for me. But now if the queen backs out, I'm not really worried about b5 anymore. I mean, going backwards in chess is not a big deal, right? Okay, now this is a slow move, and I feel like being aggressive now. But how? I would love to get over there somehow. Not exactly sure how to do this. Yeah, I can go here and create a threat, right? That's not a ridiculous move. Bishop h6 looks very, very sensible. I almost want to unpin my king manually, just move my king out of the way, but that move looks pretty ridiculous. I do have to be careful though. b5 is still here. b5 is still here. I don't want to castle because then I get my rook off this file. I kind of want to move my queen out, but b5 is super strong. Yeah, b5, if I move my queen out, I no longer guard my rook. And if I'm not mating my opponent, then it just doesn't work. You know, I like to say 9 times out of 10 on a chessboard, especially at this level, like 11, 1200, moving backwards is not the answer. But there is that 1 out of 10 where it might be. And I think we might be in this situation. I mean, you know what? I'm still going to try to make progress. So I'm not going backwards. I'm just castling. I really don't want to castle, but okay. And just checking the Discord to make sure all of the opponents are here. This happens very frequently. Anyway, where people sign up and then I have to worry about them actually showing up or not. Anyway, it's definitely a spot here where I would have preferred keeping my king here. Maybe king f8 would have been the best move. Now, black is still for choice. Black is for choice because white has a weakened king. White has very odd piece coordination here. White also has just a very weak center pawn. White also has sort of a queen off dangling, but white is not losing. White has the criteria to be worse, but I don't think white is losing. Okay, I'm going to attack this pawn. And I'm actually not so sure it's so easy to defend. And if I take it, it's checkmate. Which is really funny, by the way. That's straight up mate, because this king is just so weak. There's no way rook d3 is good. Because rook d3, I feel like, is very susceptible to my attacks. And bishop c1 is a very passive move, so I'm kind of happy to see that move. The problem is being happy to see a move and actually being in a much better position are totally different things. Knight f5 is a possibility. I can also centralize my queen. I like this move. But knight d5 is always very strong. It's always going to be a very strong move. It's a tough position, honestly. It's like my opponent is playing very, very decently. And I do not have some sort of like immediate knockout punch, which is making me kind of frustrated. Because I feel like I should be much better, but I don't see a way that I can win on the spot, which is actually very annoying. Okay, I'm thinking maybe I will centralize my rook and then probably get my queen out. Like I've spent nearly 2 minutes over the last two moves. That's very bad. Because I had a big time advantage, and now I don't have it anymore. At least I'm staying hydrated with my water. When you get in a rapid game where you both have about 4 minutes, and you now want to start playing the clock as well, knight f6 is an idea, but I'm not actually sure it creates any real threat. You need to start handling the clock better as well. Just don't go queen g4 and hang. That would be bad. I mean, I think I can prevent this just by going king g7. I don't think it's not completely outlandish to guard things with your king. I could have also gone queen e6, which is probably what I should have done. But I'm also trying to play at a level that's not necessarily 2440. Okay, knight there. I think I will maybe bring my queen. So I'm threatening this pawn. It's just straight up a threat on the pawn. Notice how we're sort of keeping the tension here with our rooks. I'm still better. I'm still better because I'm more active and I have a better pawn structure. My pawns are all together kind of, and I don't have any weaknesses standing around. I would say the evaluation here is probably like minus 1.2, minus 1.5. Maybe Stockfish will disagree with me, but it's important to understand when you're playing on the time that you want to start playing a little faster than your opponent. I never finished that sentence. Apologies. It's like 7:50 in the morning, 8 a.m. I'm a little bit sleepy still. So you want to start playing a little bit faster than your opponent, and you want to start managing your time in a smarter way. So is knight c5 a concern, or do I not care about that move? Wow, this is actually a very complicated game. Let me trade the rooks. I think that by trading the rooks off the board, I'm going to open up a possibility for myself to have good attacking chances. I feel like if I clear out the rooks from the back rank there, my opponent will have some serious difficulties defending their king. Well, I gotta tell you, this is anything but clear to me what's going on. I mean, I'm not super worried about the move knight c5, because I feel like losing the king is worse than, me losing a pawn somehow. Knight d5, well, that's also a good move. Also a very decent move. No threat necessarily. Not necessarily a concrete threat, but it is a bit of an unpleasant position. I can also try to like undermine the defense somehow. Let's play bishop g4, which attacks the rook. Notice I'm trying to keep a 25-second time advantage as well. 30-second time advantage. Very, very huge spot here. You cannot overthink when you have 3 minutes on the clock. You literally can't overthink. You will lose. Can't take because there's a fork, right? And try to undermine again. I like queen f5 as well. Queen f5 looks good. I don't exactly know what it does, but it looks good, right? It just feels like a decent move. Maybe bishop f3. I might have just blundered, though. Knight e7, knight e7. And then rook d8. Right? So knight e7, rook d3, and knight f5 is check. Uh-oh. I forgot about knight e7. I literally just blundered because I was just trying to shuffle my pieces instead of coming up with a plan. Wow. That is a sick tactic. Knight e7. If I take, I lose my rook for free, and I don't think I have anything there. Ooh. Oh, my opponent finds it. Wow. Okay, so I think here I can bail out, right? Like, I think I can maybe just not lose everything. But you know what? Let's do it. Let's try to fight back from a losing position. We have a minute on the clock, right? We're up a minute on the clock. I love how my opponent is thinking. Yeah, okay. Bishop e2. What are they thinking about? I'm going to create a threat of checkmate here. Always good. This is the way you should play when you're down by material. You have to play the clock, and you have to play the position. Obviously, you have to create more threats than you are susceptible to yourself. Okay, that prevents mate. This attacks the rook, right? I think my opponent is probably going to go back to d2. That seems like the best move. And then maybe they're going to rotate over. I am actually completely lost. Like, this is no joke. I am, yeah, okay. There's rook d2. Is this going to happen next? It's like the best 1100 I have ever played. Getting the queen and the bishop into the game is also good. Okay, yeah, that's also a good move. Oh, but it wasn't. Wow. Oh, wait, this is defended. What is Oh my gosh, wait, what? Is this what happens when wait, I'm actually like, what? How to win it? I think this is one of the worst games I've ever played. Oh my God. I'm just like, I think I'm in such shock that my opponent is playing so well that, I just, oh my God. Oh, okay. Well, they have 50 seconds. So the good news is that while I am losing, there is still a chance that I can, save this game. Okay, I'm going to attack this rook. Can you make one blunder, please? Okay, now they're starting to play a little... Okay, that move was played in 1 second, and now my opponent just blundered a rook in one move, which is nice. I'm so confused, guys. I mean, this game was a catastrophe. I'm actively thinking about whether to even... Okay, now what? Now my opponent's hanging this too? What? Okay, this is not mate, right? I mean, if you're going to give me the bishop, I'm going to take it. What? What? I should have lost to this 1100. What is going on? Okay, check. I just have to not get mated, yeah? Easier said than done, considering how ridiculous this game has been thus far. King g8? It's no way it's a draw, right? Maybe it's a draw? Oh my goodness. This is so crazy. Well, if I allow queen into f8, then I'm just going to get checkmated, which is not good. I don't want to get checkmated. Here, h4, king g4, knight f6, king g3. Oh my goodness, what is going on? Okay, it's either a draw or I lose. So let's play to lose. My opponent has 30 seconds on the clock. Folks, this is one of the most ridiculous games I've ever been a part of. All I can hope is my opponent is beadless. That's not a real word. All right, I'm just running. And I can totally get mated here. Okay, well, that's not a check, so... I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I am so tired of this position. I might just trade. I mean, this is not even like the best move probably, but I will do this and I will trade the queens, and I guess we will just play this position. Oh my goodness, I think this is also a very good move. All right, am I just promoting here? D3. This was such an odd game. Now they're playing super well again. What? Now they're bringing their king. Maybe I'll take and go king d4. Active king in the endgame. And I win, but like that was just not... That was just crazy. Wow. All right, so we can analyze. You know, from here, I really was under the impression that I had a great position. I really thought I had a good position. But my opponent played queen a4 and then b4. I mean, even b4 I thought wasn't necessarily that good, but they played an a6 was a good move. Bishop b2 was good by white. Rook a d1. Yeah, my opponent just played... Wow, I'm not even better here? Oh my goodness. Okay, I mean, I thought this was logical. Turns out it wasn't. Queen e6. And now I'm worse. Oh my gosh. What? I was just straight up getting outplayed by an 1100. Wow. But then here, I mean, I missed bishop e2. This was amazing. What a game. And then I just blundered. I got so shaken up by the fact that my opponent hadn't made a mistake, and I just totally malfunctioned. Rook d2 is a very natural move. Yeah, see, rook f2 here is very, very natural. And then here my opponent just went completely nuts. I mean, here I went, I don't even know. This was one of the worst games ever. Wow. 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 That was horrible. That was horrible by everybody involved. I mean, no, my opponent played fantastic. They should be very, very proud of themselves. Yeah, I mean, the goal was to also show you where you can, you know, within Chessly, link is in the description, everything is 33% off, where you can, you know, analyze these things. And here we have the G6 course inside of Chessly. And this setup against the Catalan is what I played over here. So I played in a very similar way to, and obviously you should not be pulling this up during your games, but I played in a way that was very similar to this chapter. So you can see, very similar, just no d4, knight is on c3, and I played for bishop h3 and for h5. And all of this with the written annotations there is exactly how Chessly looks. Courses are 33% off, and you should go check it out. Okay, let's jump into game number 2, because that was that was completely insane. Oh my god, that was one of the worst games I've ever played. Okay, I'm gonna go e4 this game. I'm gonna go e4. I'm gonna try to play one of my repertoires. Hopefully the e4 repertoire. Okay, e4, e5. Yeah, we gotta go for Vienna. True and tried. All right, Vienna game. See what my opponent does. So maybe they're gonna move a bishop. Maybe they're gonna move a knight. I don't know if we're gonna have a Vienna gambit. Okay, we will have a Vienna gambit. Does my opponent know the best line? Okay, fe5. Right. fe5, and now queen f3. This is, okay, knight c3. I'm going to take bc. And the idea here is to put the pawn on d4, bishop d3, knight e2, and castle. If they play c5, preventing the move d4, then we will do something else. We're going to play queen g3, which prevents the development of this bishop and threatens this pawn. Depends what black plays now. Knight c6, bishop e7 is the most common setup by black, especially by a player that doesn't know what they're doing. Because it's very natural moves. You just develop your pieces to the extent that they can be developed. But already, that setup is about plus 2.5 for white. Believe it or not. So, yes, and there it is. d4. And now I imagine bishop e6, bishop e7, castle. But some people go here, long castle. It's another thing that I've seen. I like that setup for black, but it does feel a bit scary considering the rook just goes to b1. And I really don't think there's a whole lot else. I mean, people might play f6. I'm just trying to find moves that might get played. f6 just really doesn't work, though. Okay, bishop d3. And now the big question is which... Okay, queen d7. Interesting. Forgot the best line here. Queen d7. Which is actually probably a good thing, because then I will be able to show you on Chessly how you're supposed to remember the best line and not forget it. What is the best line after bishop e6? Have I already messed it up? The truth, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I do not even remember my own recommendation, which is embarrassing, but it's the truth. I guess I'm just going to go here. I'm still gonna try to castle, and I'm going to maybe play rook b1. Rook b1 is always a good move in these positions. It's just, how can it not be? Attacking that entire file. And my opponent might be having second thoughts now. Or not. Or they might not be having second thoughts at all. But they might now play bishop e7. They also might not. And... okay, they did. Okay. Not using any outside assistance. I'm messaging my wife, good morning. And I'm also going to roll my neck and crack it a little bit. Oh, I woke up and first thing I did was record today. That's what I did. Love my job, grinding every day. So, I don't know. Hope you're all having a good weekend or whenever you're watching this. I'm going to take more water. So it's really up to my opponent now. Which way are they going to castle? It's a big decision. And if you've ever been anxious about choosing a dining option when two of them look good, you are definitely going to be anxious about which way to castle here. Because I think one of the ways you castle here, you just lose. And I feel like the other way you castle here, you don't just lose, but it feels very scary. So castling this way, I think straight up loses. Like I think you just get demolished by an attack. This way looks scary because of the open b file, but there's actually nothing substantially dangerous about that position, I don't think. But still, I will play knight f4. I will try to get the bishop. Wow. Wow. Okay. I don't know what that does. So I'm just going to go knight f4. If bishop g4, I'm going to take. So I'm threatening a couple of very unpleasant things. Knight e6, queen e6, I trap the queen. I just straight up trap the queen with bishop f5. Knight e6, f e6, I have bishop g6 check. And you have to move your king in the center. Okay, I think my opponent's just gone a little bananas. Oh, that's the end of the game. 13 moves. 1350 goes down. I think there is a way to save the queen here, by the way. It's a very, very nice way. Knight takes d4. That does save the queen. Danger levels. And then when I go here, queen b6 or queen a6. And you don't lose your queen. You lose a knight, which is very bad in this position too. And your king is still stuck in it. Oh, yeah, same concept. Actually, that might even be better. Wow, my subscribers are just straight up playing better than me today. Okay, so my opponent's going to get 2 pawns. The reason I didn't think about knight e5 is because I just sort of thought that opening the center of the board was too dangerous, I guess. That's crazy. Oh, 8 a.m. Gotham is just a garbage chess player. Maybe I shouldn't record this series at this time. Ah, I still will. Queen e5, I have a cool trick. I'm going to go bishop a3. With the intention of bishop a3, rook e1. And queen and king on the same center line. What is my opponent thinking about? Do they really want to not take this pawn? The thing is, like, you could consider checking me from one of these two squares with the queen or the bishop, but king h1 is completely safe, and I can block, which is a problem. Well, yeah, at least this game is less dramatic than the last one. And I will show you how to learn this line when you do have Chessly, and all the courses, 33% off, you know what to do. A lot of you have E4 New York style. This was very much E4 New York style, this one. But I'm not going to show you now because you should not be checking your courses during the game. That is cheating. It's not like cheating with beads, but it's definitely is definitely like, it's definitely cheating. You can't do that. Okay, my opponent is thinking, or maybe getting a delivery at their house. I'm so bored. I'm so bored because, okay, queen c6. Fascinating. I thought that they were just going to take my pawn. I was just bored because I thought there was literally nothing else. Oh, let's put a rook in the open file. There's no threats. This is not hanging. Rook on the open file, obviously a good thing. Just straight up full improvement of the position. Okay, I kind of get this, but I don't because I just take. And actually, you are the one in danger, my German friend. Or you just have the German flag, but you're not actually from Germany. That's a thing. You can just change your flag to some destination. Most people generally have the flag from where they're from, though. F6! Okay. Well, there's a king there, and there's no immediate tactical ramifications of taking, so I'm going to open up the position. I want to give a check. I also want to activate my bishop a little bit. What do I do? There's no way that giving a check can be bad, right? Like this. In fact, I should just be winning here. If the king runs this way, I think I have a sufficient amount of checks to checkmate the black king. I think the black king actually should go to d8. Okay, yeah, but now I have this. And I think that between my bishops laser beaming these diagonals, I don't think black survives this attack. Here it's mate in one, actually. Because my bishop is so strong. No, I mean, it was always going to be a tough position, right? Especially after you made some early blunders, it was always going to be tough. So king e8, and now you are boxed in completely. So you go king e8. I mean, I don't have a mate. Yeah, I mean, anywhere I move my rook is a check, so I'm just going to go here and win the queen. There's no need to overcomplicate anything. Pick up the queen, and my opponent resigns. Yeah, so my opponent does not have a deep enough knowledge of the Vienna, because they messed up right away. I've got to remember what to do here. Maybe, I think I played fine, but I want to double check what my recommendation was. I think I played completely reasonably. Like, I played normal moves. But then, yeah, then my opponent just went crazy. I mean, they just blundered knight e6. And it was always sort of over. Yeah, queen e5 here you probably should play, but it's already quite bad. And then we just opened the attack on the king. You gotta focus on the king when it's in the center of the board. And I mean, it was a clean game. It was an example of how well you can, how well you can play, how easily you can win when you know your openings. And this is what it would look like on Chessly. That was a Vienna Gambit main line with knight c3. And it was everything in the course up until... I mean, I have bishop e7 here, but it's all sort of the same thing. It's like knight c6 on the next move. So bishop e7, d4, castles. I think in my video, I show knight c6 and bishop e6. Yeah, like bishop e6, knight e2, and knight c6. But there I have... I think it's in the video. I have bishop e6, queen d7, and then how to handle that position. So, okay, interesting. This is all good stuff. And if a setup is ever not on Chessly yet in the study section, then I will add it. So this will actually be good. I will go in and I will add something about knight c6 move order and castling queenside. But I do think I covered in the video. Sometimes the video and the study are slightly different. So that's good. I mean, it looks like according to the engine that I played slightly differently than maybe top engine line, but I played well enough and implemented all the right ideas to get a good position and a big advantage. So I'm happy with the game, and I will add this bishop e6, queen d7 to Chessly if it's ever not. This is another benefit, by the way, of getting a Chessly course. We're actively, adding variations. For example, recently I added bishop c5 and bishop b4 by popular request, because I guess a lot of you face these weird move two sidelines in the Vienna. So there you go. There you go. I had mostly the short castle setup in the course, but I will add anything that's not there. So if it's ever not there, you can always add it in the suggestions. Next game. There was not a whole lot to analyze in that game either. I mean, we just sort of got a very good position. We played knight f4, we took, and yep, it was very, very good, I think. e4. Okay, I'm gonna play Black Gambit's repertoire in this game. I'm not going to play d5, but rather I'm going to play e5, and then depending on what my opponent plays, So I'm going to play bishop c5 against the Vienna. This is my recommendation against the Vienna, actually. So the point is to meet the Vienna gambit with d6. Or rather, I mean, this is kind of a king's gambit-esque position. Knight f3 is also a move. Yeah, so here, rather than doing this, you have a setup here of knight f6 and d6. So f4, d6, and against this? Yeah, I guess against this I will just play d6. And then I will delay knight f6. I'm checking on who's next. And do we silently await our opponent's fourth move? I'm letting the next person know that they are playing. Okay, opponent is really deep in thought. I guess they were not expecting I guess they were not expecting this position, maybe. The point is here that if I had played this and completely copied my opponent, then queen g4 would have been possible. Okay, so now we see this move. I'm going to play knight c6. So we've gotten an improved version of the copycat, because had we just copied with knight c6, there would have been queen to g4. I have to sneeze. I think there's nothing more frustrating in the world than a feeling of a sneeze running away. Okay, that was almost what happened there. So this is a not as fun variation of the Black Gambit's repertoire. The Black Gambit's repertoire tends to be more exciting when white plays knight f3 or some Italian or a Spanish. But this is also okay. It's a very aggressive repertoire for black. And one way that I like to play this is I like to play f5 later. But I think right now I'm just going to play bishop g4. So one of the benefits of not having moved my knight here, or developed these pieces just yet, is the fact that if my opponent plays a move like d3, I have knight d4. Okay, this is not an unreasonable move, but I'm going to go back. So my threat is to go knight d4. This is what I want. I would like to delay the fact that I haven't, done any of this stuff and actually just start attacking white. Maybe a queen f6 in the future. I have to be careful about knight d5. e4, e5 positions they take a lifelong amount of time to master. Okay, I'm getting very anxious because the next opponent is not here. Which happens way more than I like. And I tell people ahead of time. I tell people, like, if you want to play how to win at chess, you should budget about an hour, maybe 90 minutes, especially if you're one of the higher rated players. But what can I do? Bishop h5 as we wait for the move. 3 minutes down on move 6 is not good. I have a feeling it's because my opponent is playing me, which obviously makes sense. A bit nervous. But I don't think that you should be spending this much time. This is not good. Better ways to do this. Just my opinion. Okay. Deep in thought. Wow. Deep in thought. I mean, if you want to deal with this pin, you can always kick me out, but that's obviously very aggressive. You can always go bishop e2. You can just go back, block the pin, and oh, there we go. Okay. So I could play knight f6 now. Could play knight f6 now. Could also play knight e7. Have a lot of decent looking moves. Maybe I will go knight e7. I mentioned this earlier. The benefit of our setup is that we haven't actually played the traditional looking move like knight f6. So we can go here and maybe play f5 in the future when we castle. So castle's f5, something like this. I can also castle long. This is another idea I have. I just have to do it in the right way. Maybe I'm going to play h6. This is a move order that's very common. I'm going to just very quickly show you on a separate board. This is a move order that's very common in this course from this setup. Bishop c4, knight f6, d3, h6. And then I like to play d6, g5. This is one of the kind of cornerstones of the Black Gambit's repertoire. Wow, that is a very decent move. That's a very smart move. It's a common move. I was sort of caught off guard by knight a4. Yeah, knight a4 trying to get my bishop on c5 in these positions is super common idea. It's a super common idea. That's why maybe here I should have gone a6, preventing knight a4 completely. But I was leaving this to my opponent to figure out if they would find this move. I love how they're thinking. Wow, so professional. Not taking me yet. Yeah, I'm debating just g5 and kind of going crazy. But I also can, of course, just play the position in a more slow fashion. I can also play queen d7 and, okay. I think queen d7, there's some sort of tactics that I may want to avoid. Hits my queen, hits this. f5 is coming. F5 is coming. I don't know. Bit of a slow game. I like same side attacking positions. I feel like they're very instructional. They have a high instructional value. How to use the correct pawn breaks when you are kind of mirror image king and pawn and rook structure over there. Also, how to trade the right pieces down. How to do a variety of different things. And how to wake up in the morning feeling like P. Diddy. Man, I remember when that Kesha song was so popular. Crazy time. I was like 12. Anyway, not that you had to know that. d4 is a good move. Man, my subs are sharp today. My subs are definitely playing sharp chess today. Okay. So, part of me wants to go here. And then play something like knight g6 and get a position of bishops versus knights. I'm going to remove the defense of the center. Knight g6 to maybe go knight h4 or queen h4 and also queen f6. If my opponent plays de, I don't think I'm that unhappy, but I would much prefer d5 because, okay, this is very important because now the center is closed. And as I mentioned, the person who is playing for the attack really prefers the closed center. So now with the position completely locked and us not gonna, have to answer the question of will we trade queens, I can very slowly migrate my horses even to f4 and invite a trade. But I don't want to trade too many pieces. You can't attack if you don't have enough pieces. And I will play f5 at some point. That move doesn't actually prevent f5, although I suppose it makes it slightly more inconvenient. It's not a bad move either, because I kind of wanted to go knight h4. But see, my opponent wants to play queen g4, so I have to act now. If this, I take with the rook. So if I take with the knight, I lose my other knight. It's far from clear, this position. It's far from clear. I have some sort of attack building, but okay, that's not a good move. I don't think there's a reason to just trade a bishop for a knight for no reason. If there's not, that was horrible English. I don't think it's a good move to trade a bishop for a knight for no reason. Because we just have the same position. White just lost a bishop for some reason. Yeah, and now that attacks a couple of things, but this defends a couple of things. And I will barrel down the f-file very soon. And also so will my pawn and so will my knight. And I think I can end this game in about 10 moves. Because of how quickly this attack can come. So of course you have to bring the rook. The rook doesn't need to be on the a-file anymore. We have this massive army just flying down the f-files. Kind of shows the whole value of playing f5. Very nice example of creating same side attacks. Now, there will be a moment here where knight f4 is completely good. Like, sometimes you don't want to trade when you're attacking, but other times, I think it's totally reasonable to trade when you're attacking. For now, I'm going to try to see if there's a way I can avoid that. Maybe knight h4. Some sort of knight h3. Or knight g2. h5, something like this. Maybe knight f4. Tough spot here because I know I'm better, but how do I demonstrate that? It's tough. It's not easy. Especially if I play knight f4 and then there's a queen trade possibility. Okay, I'm going to play h5. I mean, in a perfect world, my opponent goes over there. Of course, in the win a chess world, my opponent goes queen g3, which I think is the best move. It's tough to beat subscribers sometimes. It's just not that they play very well. You're playing for YouTube. You gotta play better, right? You gotta handle your nerves. You gotta play your best. If the queen goes there, I think it's just game over. I think I play knight h4 and I start firing on the g2 square. But I guess there's also this direction. Okay, yeah, they play there. Now I'm gonna play knight f4. So rook g5 wins the game. You have to be very careful here. Huge threat, rook g5. In fact, I've wanted to play rook g5 since the very beginning, but I was unable. So rook g5. 2 minutes also. Not good time management by white, but that's okay. White is forgiven because they're playing me. They're nervous. All right. All right. Yeah, so now I'm thinking rook f4 or ef4. I think I will play rook f4. I think I will play rook f4. I don't want to play ef4. ef4 might have been completely reasonable, but then I'm opening up the e file. And the second you give counterplay to an opponent, things get very dangerous. I still haven't found my next opponent, by the way. My opponent's just not here. That's wild. So people sign up to play and then just vanish. Ooh, look at this move. Now the queen has to go to jail. Oh. Oh, no. And then rook f2. Ay, ay, ay. By the way, do you realize that all of this happened after the move f5? Goes to show you. What? Why that? You didn't need to do that. Okay, well, now I'm just going to take all the pawns. Okay. King f8. All right. My next opponent cannot make it. So instead of it being a 1700 on the next game, I think it's going to be a 1600. No problem. Bring the king. And the way you win this is you don't lose your queen. And you slowly pick up the pawns. You can trade them off. You can attack them. Whatever you want to do. If you have an overwhelming amount of pawns, you can also trade the queen for the rook, which in this case, I don't think you should do, because 5-4 is not close enough to be completely winning. We're going to march the pawns down a little bit. You can march your king up as well. And there's nothing. There is nothing that can be done. Queen h1, go after the pawns, and win them. Check. You could always check your opponent to strategically capture some pawns, but for example, now you can make this trade, but I don't want to. Okay, but now I will. And then you can take, you could also push. As long as the pawns are on the same side and kind of cover each other's progress. Right? CB will never break through CB. 3 versus 0. This is maybe the simplest way to win this. Take one of these pawns. And all right. That was a very solid game. We should review whether we played our lines correctly. It was balanced from the early game. I feel like we got our opponent to play a bit passively, and yeah, white was a bit better. +1 is just Stockfish, I think, being a bit of a lunatic. And then here, I decided to do this, and my opponent played d5, which very quickly gave me some powerful attack that even the computer doesn't bless. The computer here thinks that I should have played this, and then, wow, just gone after the center. Okay, interesting. And we should, of course, quickly review Gambits for Black. Did we play our lines correctly? So let's go to our big window. Gambits for black. This was, I guess, Italian game sideline, right? E4, or Vienna, actually. This was a Vienna. This was Vienna. We played like this. D6, D3. Oh, I guess it kind of became an Italian. I guess it transposed back into an Italian. Uh-huh. Fascinating. So it didn't. So my opponent did actually play the move knight a4. This kind of did happen, but it's sort of a weird system of the two. It's a mix of the two systems. So it's like an Italian game, like this kind of. D3, h6, castles. Very interesting. There's so many different move orders against the Vienna that I sort of feel like. I feel like maybe the two fuse together. And see, that's another thing maybe we can add. When the Vienna becomes an Italian back with knight f3. That's interesting. It's actually I'm also picking up on a couple of things. If sometimes you go back and you try to study something and it's not the exact move order in a course, like this specific move order is not necessarily there, and you would need to kind of try to figure out something else on your own. I think knight c6 was good. I think bishop g4, I guess, was a little bit too much. I think knight f6 was reasonable. And with the bishop on c5, maybe a6, bishop a7. Very common idea. Oh, I will go investigate this. I think I played a bit too aggressively in this game, to be honest with you. Like knight e7, all this stuff. You cannot really reinvent the wheel in the Italian. And in the Italian, you can play knight f6. But, okay. Even I'm learning some stuff. Because basically the move order of the Italian game is this, right? And so here, after knight f6 and d3, we play h6 and d6 and g5, right? So against this setup. But against this move order, we've already put the bishop on c5, and suddenly now it's an Italian once again. But we have a bishop on c5, right? So it's just an interesting kind of distinction between the two. This is a bit more aggressive because our bishop is not back here, but we have to deal with the fact that knight a4 is possible, c3 b4 is possible. Anyway, this is giving me all good material, I feel like. So I will edit in if there's ever any gaps in any of the chapters and any of the move orders. So, and something is in my eye. I think once the attack got rolling, it got very bad for white, by the way. I think this is already better for black, and a few moves later, it's like borderline just completely winning for black, and h4 is knockout. Queen is going back to h2 with a big attack on the way. That was a fun game. Let's get our next opponent. I think their name is Dolas. I have white in the next game. Appreciate you dealing with, you know, it's another player from Poland. Played 2 Polish players today. Okay, I already played an e4 game, so I'm gonna play d4 this game. But I could play e4 again. Okay, d4, e6. Oh, is my opponent an e6, b6 player? Oh. So you don't know. This is a very annoying move order. Okay, I'm going to play a London. Okay. Yeah, and so there's a line here, which is queen f3. This is a very tricky line. And it's actually preventing bishop b7. So this specific move order of the London, queen f3, is super tricky. Because now black has to play some sort of move that they are not used to. They want to play bishop b7, but suddenly they can't. All right? Knight c6. And now knight c3 by white and long castle. And the point is that even if black does play bishop b7, there's no discovery because I will take the bishop. Ugh. Stretching. These Win at Chess episodes are always recorded right before I start kind of the rest of the day. So I'm a bit sleepy. I'm drinking my coffee. Haven't eaten yet, you know. Waiting for my opponents to show up and play. Yeah, recording these episodes of stuff, you ask for volunteers and people are like, I can play, and then they're like, I can't play, sorry, bye. Why did you volunteer? Now I've had to start selecting replacements ahead of time. Not easy. Definitely a pain. Okay, it's move 6 again, and my opponents are deep in thought, which is the benefit of having a strong opening repertoire. It's to get people very confused and very anxious from a very early stage of the game. D5, yes. Okay, so this move now blocks this bishop, so my opening has been a success. And now I can think about what to play. So of course I can get very aggressive. G4, G5. In fact, I will. Just G4 and G5, not letting my opponent get settled. It's another benefit of having played the queen out to F3. I don't have to develop these pieces yet. I can just focus on kind of kicking my opponent around and advancing with these pawns. And I have another sneaky idea, which is queen G3, which attacks C7. And it's actually relatively difficult to defend that pawn, because knight B5 is also a problem. There's a lot of hidden venom behind queen F3. And I think this is in the D4 dynamite on Chesley, if I am not mistaken. But yeah, there's a handful of those B6 setups in the London, especially people who play E6 B6 with black. They love to play like this. They love to play E6 B6 bishop B7. So I am always a proponent of making the opening as uncomfortable for my opponents as possible. Okay, A5 is no good. A5 is no good for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think it drastically weakens B5. And actually, if I just go here, or I guess even knight B5, or even queen G3, I'm not actually sure how you deal with that. The second reason is I don't actually think there's an attack here. I think if you had to attack, A6 B5 was probably the way to go. But I don't know. That's my first instinct. You might look at this and be terrified. I look at it and I'm like, are you sure about that move? Okay, there's this, and if knight b5, there's the same thing. So maybe I don't want to rush with that. I still am considering the move g5, which obviously has a significant amount of merit. g5, knight b5 makes it very tough for black to move. g5 here, knight b5, rook c8, and queen g3. Doesn't that just like almost win? What a combination. So g5, I go here. Oh. What? But that's just a free pawn. What? What? I'm so confused. What is happening? But what about your king? What about my attack? Do you think my attack is strong? I'm so perplexed because a3, I just played b3. I think, to be honest, my opponent was just so rattled by this whole setup that it's completely made them crash and burn, which just shows you the importance of openings, really, when you're 1600. Like, look at this. Like, just the pure shock value, the surprise value of this opening is making my otherwise very, very strong opponent just totally malfunction, right? It happens. It happens. It's not that shocking, actually. I have to be a bit careful. I can't lose my queen, for example, if I take and the bishop takes my queen. But again, with the king in the center, you got to just be thinking attack, right? I think now bishop b5 is just game over. Literally game over because c6 I take. 12 moves. No, I was actually already losing after g5 even, but wow. d4 dynamite, huh? That was a let's put it this way, that was quite an advocation for this line. This specific move order is a bit niche. I'm trying to find it in here, but I think it should be in here. Bishop b5. Yeah, this line is a very decent line for black, but you have to know what you're doing, otherwise Otherwise, you can just get very bad very fast. Anyway, this is it. They just resigns. Yeah. Yeah. It happens. I mean, it happens. It happens. It happens. You should not feel bad about losing like this. In fact, it's better to lose like this than, especially against me, in some random video, than to lose like this in a game that actually matters, right? So that's the way you should think about this. You should not be frustrated. You should not be, you know, upset that this happened. It happens. People lose like this all the time. I'm trying to find where this is in the course, in the D4 Dynamite course, this variation. I don't want to spend the remaining time here looking at this, like looking this up, but it should be there somewhere. It's just that there's so many different move orders that sometimes it's you cannot find it. So many different lines. Okay, whatever. I will not sit here and waste your time. But yeah, this Queen F3 move is incredibly powerful. Very, very powerful move. E3. And the thing is, not E3, Queen F3. This line. The point is that, you know, most of the lines of the course have C5 in them, or D5. But there are chances that black does not play one of these two moves. 90% of your games are going to look like this or like this when you play the D4 Dynamite, but there is a chance that people use this move order. And then here, Queen F3 is super strong. Anyway, I think my opponent is a bit frustrated with himself, so I'm going to tell them that it's okay and not to be too upset. Yeah, Queen F3 is a pain. I wish I could find exactly where it was in the Dynamite course, but if I can't, no worries. It's a very, very tricky London move order with Queen F3 here. Of course, if black begins with Knight F6, Bishop F4, B6, it's not possible. So you have to know how to play this position. But if black plays E6 and then B6, oh yeah, it could get really, really bad for black after Queen F3. Next game, last game. I mean, that was a tough one. I'm playing black now. E4. Black Gambits or Caro Kann? Let's play Caro Kann. D5. C5. Wow, my opponent's playing moves very quickly. Should I go Knight C6 or should I play E6? I'll play E6. Threatening this pawn. Okay. Bishop C5. Okay. Now my opponent is thinking. But I was always going to take the pawn, so I'm sort of confused. Okay, now Knight F3. Knight F3 and A3. The setup here for black is relatively straightforward. I mean, it's like Knight C6, Knight E7, and there is one long main line here for black. I'm trying to think if there's a way that I can use some of my, knowledge from ahead of time to... But I don't think so. I'm just going to go here. Of course, white will play b4. My opponent, being 1950, is playing the main line. Everybody nowadays plays the main line. b4. Yeah, so bishop e7 and bishop b6 are pretty good. Knight e7 and even knight h6 are not unreasonable moves. Like learning these advanced caro positions it takes a lifelong effort to master, but I mean, of course, knight e7, knight g6 is the easy way to go. But yeah, let's, I don't know. Both looks good, to be honest. I guess, okay, I'll do this. And then knight g4 is coming. I like these episodes. There's deeper moments of silence. I get to message Lucy about feeding the dog and so on. Oh, this is no good. What? What is this? What is going on? Losing in 9 moves? I'm very frustrated with Hey guys, I'm sorry. I am I'm very confused. This game is so weird. This episode is so weird. I lost to an 1100 basically, and now a 1900 is losing to me in 9 moves. Ugh. Oh. Yeah, I have to 96. Okay, well, I can actually, you could sack here, which is funny, and then you could take the queen. But I'm gonna go king f8, and I just going to win a rook. I'm very confused. Of course, my opponent can go here and try to mate me, but anyway. You know, sometimes people volunteer to play, like my last opponent, and they've been waiting a while. Like they volunteer a lot, and when they finally volunteer and get a chance to play, they play a bad game. Like what happened, and they get very upset. And I get it. Trust me, I get it. I once, you know, I've been yelled at in streams or while a streamer was trying to make some content or something, or you know, I made a fool out of myself or something like that. And I get it. You know, it's very stressful. It's stressful to play, and sometimes it happens. And you shouldn't, you know, you shouldn't feel too bad if that ever happens to you, or in the context of my channel or any channel, because the truth is nobody really remembers. The truth is we all die anyway. This is a grim way of looking at it, I suppose. By the way, you'll notice I am just defending. I'm playing defense, right, against the f7 pawn. So I'm just up a rook, which is nice. And you know, sometimes when things aren't going too well in life, that can reflect in your chess. And that can also take a negative effect on you, because chess is sort of supposed to be the place where, you know, you put in the work and you get results and all this stuff. But it's not always like that. It sucks, you know. It definitely sucks, and I get it. I get it. That's why when I do guess the ELO, I'm making fun, I'm joking, I'm roasting. But when I'm doing these episodes, I get it. Blunders happen. And this is sort of like when I'm in the boxing gym and I you know, I'm practicing with my guy, you know, my trainer, my sensei, if you will, and he kicks me like 40% with his power, and my leg feels like it's gonna break off. I know there's no kicking in boxing, but you get it, kickboxing. So I mean, I'm just a rook up. The only task that I have now is not to somehow screw it up. I should really try to get rid of this knight, preferably in a way where the pawn doesn't move and the bishop opens up. And then I will just be in very good shape. you know. There's also a move here, which is g5. Wow. This was weird because my opponent played really well. Like, they actually had a good sense of the theory, but I think after g5, I'm just completely winning because you either go here or here. No, queen d2 is fine. You survive after queen d2. But you play queen g4, this is a fork. So you have to play queen d2. So now I've completely booted you out of my position, and I'm still up a rook. Which is just, yeah, I mean, that's just nice, being up a rook. But it's never too late to mess everything up. So knight f2 attacks this rook. And then what? And then what? 4? g4. I want to go knight e4 because I want to trade pieces, right? I'm winning, so naturally I should be trying to trade pieces. That doesn't seem unreasonable. I'm not really prompted to play that move right now, but I could. Let's just play it. Because it really feels like getting this knight out of here is a big win for me. Even at the loss of a pawn, because I'm up a rook. And then I can play bishop d7, bishop c6 maybe. Only thing I have to do is protect my king, right? Like, even rook h7, as ugly and passive as it is, it's still a rook. And if I go here and take the knight, every piece I remove from the board is beneficial for me. As long as this doesn't come here, and this all opens, and I get into serious trouble. This was a weird one. This game was very, very strange. And I don't know, this whole episode was so weird. Oh, such a weird episode. Okay, bishop c6. I have to. I mean, I just have to trade. That's what I have to do right now. The less pieces my opponent has, the better it's going to be for me. So, go away, please. Interesting move. Trying to kind of stick around. Okay, I'm gonna take. I'm gonna go knight c6. And I want to play rook d8. Like, once I start getting my heavy pieces into the game, you will feel the presence of the rook, right? The more pieces that get traded, the more intense the impact is going to be. So rook d8. So I'm not even taking it. I'm winning a tempo on the queen. I'm bringing a rook to the party. And once this opens, this rook is open as well. So you're really going to feel the presence of my pieces. Whereas white has bishops, but I didn't really let them get into the game. The bishop on f1 hasn't moved yet. And the bishop on b2 is decent, but it's much more a defensive piece than an offensive piece, which is why I was very cognizant of all this happening. All right, so that was a mouse slip. Okay, this was a very weird episode. Very strange. So my opponent left theory, I think, basically here. This is the Caro course, and this is one of the later kind of sections in bishop b2. Knight h6, and knight e7 is definitely the move. I wanted to get a little bit more exotic with it, and I played this. This is definitely not correct, but my logic was I could go maybe I could go knight g4, and then maybe play for f6 in the future, something like this, and play for f6. The computer hates it because, it thinks that the knight should be here. But this is what I was trying to do. I was trying to mess around a little bit in my own opening. But the line here is knight e7, and then bishop d3, and then you need to not get Greek gifted. There's a very tricky Greek gift here. Bishop takes h7. It's a very, very tricky thing. But if you just play knight g6, and then something like castles, knight d2, and black plays f6, and they play c4, or like knight f4 first, something along these lines. There's a lot of theory here. We can sign off by checking this in the Caro course, if you'd like. Very, very odd episode this was, but hopefully enjoyable. Hopefully still some good instructive moments. I have two weapons here. Modern a3. Yeah, there's this study. So a3. I think I have knight f3, a3 as its own separate thing. Yeah. So this, bishop b2. And see, the line is knight e7. The line is knight e7. But I decided to be exotic with knight h6, and you will notice that the bishops are supposed to be like this, and the white knight is supposed to go, after all this, to to c3 if everything gets traded. But if this is all on Chessly, by the way, and 33% off. But there are many, many lines where this knight will go to the d2 square. The knight will go to d2. After the main line, it goes to c3 after like 18 moves or something. But it wants to go to d2 because it does not want to get in the way of the bishops. But what happened in our game was the fact that my opponent played knight c3 really early, and I just got knight g4. I mean, yeah, just the big blunder. Just a big blunder. Like, white had to go bishop d3 here. This is the whole point of the setup. So white will go back and review that and come back stronger. And that's the way chess works. And we played knight g4, proceeded to win some material, guard our king. We protected ourselves against mate, kicked out our opponent's pieces. And this was the most instructive part of the game, as I just beeline for some exchanges and got a completely winning position. So that concludes the episode. And hopefully you kind of got some understanding of how to study and go back and review your lines. And if they're not there, complain to me, and then I will fix up and patch some things up. Because the truth is, practical experience, people use a bunch of different move orders, and sometimes not everything is covered in a course. It's very hard to anticipate every single move order under the sun. So at some point you get out of the prep of the course, but you have to adjust and understand the ideas of the opening. And I think this was a good one. I will see you in episode number 24. Get out of here.